In April, Vietnam celebrated 50 years of reunification and the end of the US war with a huge parade of thousands, and Chinese troops joined the commemoration for the first time. Could you break down what this means for Vietnam-China relations?
Yeah, I mean, it's because the Western media headline always, oh, China and Vietnam are having big trouble because we sort of have this maritime territorial disputes. Yes, we have. There is multiple repeat claimants, on maritime territory in South China Sea. That's historical issue. It's even before 1949. I mean, if you look. So it's not new, but we have been through that for decades and not waging major sort of a military warfare, I mean, in the region. So that's why the South China Sea is very peaceful. It's a safe shipping lane. No shipping company has ever reported sort of being, a threat like in the other parts, sea lanes in the world. They're always talking about China being the threat there. But China has the biggest stake in keeping the peace in South China Sea because most trade going there are with China. We're not crazy to jeopardize the shipping lane. But going back to the China-Vietnam, you mentioned it's 50 years anniversary. Look, 50 years ago, China was kind of a dirt poor country. I mean, my brother and sister were born in the late 1950, early 60. It was the hardship years, we call that. A lot of people suffered starvation, actually. But we supported the Vietnam. I mean, their war of independence and in their war against the U.S. Full-heartedly, I would say, material-wise, military, in every aspect. Basically, they are the priority. So I think the friendship, I mean, let's recall the big name Ho Chi Minh. I mean, it was a household name in China. I mean, the friendship, obviously. And so it was comrade in arms in those years for my generation or older. The younger generation probably only reading history books, I mean, textbooks. But the older generation, they remember very, very well. It was, so it was not something irrelevant. It's totally relevant. It's ingrained in our mindset, thinking. And so I think Vietnam went through, followed China's policy starting its reform and opening up too. I mean, it's very much globalized, become a major manufacturing center too. I mean, because a lot of Chinese investors too. But I think Vietnam did very well, I would say. I mean, in commenting, joining the CPTPP, the Comprehensive Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, which means it's willing to make reform to, adapting to the international practice. So I think China obviously has applied, but there was a sort of a geopolitical concern by some member states, the U.S. pressure behind. Even U.S. is not a member. But anyway, I would say Vietnam is a success story in terms of economic reform and opening up. But we are both facing Trump's tariff war too. I mean, if you look at his tariff on Vietnam, it's very high, probably second after China. But the friendship you reestablish, I mean, actually the party-to-party relationship has been strong all the time, because the two communist party in Vietnam and China, this is a sort of a brotherhood, I mean, from the older years. And so you cannot easily remove that part of history. I mean, even we have a disagreement, but compared to the overall relationship, that's only a small piece, I would say. We should manage that. We should not let disputes, differences prevent, stop our cooperation. That's why, I mean, there was I think, renewed more enthusiasm, I would say, between cooperation between China and Vietnam. If you look at, Vietnam obviously is desperate for more infrastructure, railway, others, and China's capacity to build infrastructure is unrivaled in the world. If you look how we built 40,000 kilometers of high-speed rail and built sort of the world's biggest container port subway system. I mean, Shanghai subway system is much longer than New York. Crazy because we only had our first subway line in 1993. And so China's speed is just phenomenal. So I think Vietnam and China can, I mean, we are neighbors. We can pursue so much win-win cooperation. That's, I think, hope is the case because I don't think the US will give up trying to drive a wedge and between China and Vietnam and between China and its neighbors. But I think ultimately people and the leaders will realize that cooperation with China will be in their interest. And, China is the largest country and most populous. I mean, only slightly surpassed by India now. China contributes to 30% of global economic growth. So it's crazy if you don't cooperate with China.